Welcome back to the True Detectives Podcast, your daily dose of the most unbelievable true detective stories. I'm Adrian Smith, and I'm here with the amazing Dr. Julia Jones. Today, we're taking you on a wild ride. A teen inventor gets caught up in a string of baffling burglaries, but there's a twist that'll have you questioning everything. So, if you're ready to dive into a world of fact versus mystery, hit that rate and follow button. And let's get started. This case starts with Ellie, a teenager who built herself a universal scanner key. This isn't just some kid's toy. It's a gadget that can crack any lock, like something straight out of a spy movie. What's fascinating is how Ellie was using this high-tech device to unlock her own bedroom door. It's a real testament to her creativity, maybe with a little bit of that teenage mischievousness thrown in.
That's a great point. It makes you wonder, what happens when such powerful technology falls into the wrong hands? We often think about the positive potential of inventions, but Ellie's story highlights the darker side, the possibility for misuse. The sources we're looking at today really bring this dilemma to life.
Exactly, and things take a turn. When a wave of mysterious burglaries hits Ellie's town, what makes these break-ins so baffling is that there's no sign of forced entry. The houses are untouched, except for the missing valuables. Like the thief just disappeared into thin air. Ellie and her friend Jake decide to take matters into their own hands and use Ellie's scanner key to access one of the crime scenes, the seemingly impenetrable house of Mr. Henderson. It's ironic because Mr. Henderson was known for his over-the-top security measures, yet the thief managed to bypass all of that without a trace.
What's striking from the police reports is the meticulous nature of these crimes. No mess, no ransacking. It's as though the thief had a blueprint, knowing precisely what to take. This level of planning suggests some motive beyond simple theft. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. And when Ellie and Jake investigate Mr. Henderson's house, they discover a seemingly insignificant detail, a photo frame slightly askew, suggesting it had been moved to access something behind it. This small clue reinforces the idea that these weren't random acts, but carefully orchestrated operations. So, we have Ellie with her scanner key and keen eye for detail, and Jake, a tech-savvy researcher who can blend into any crowd. They start mapping out the burglaries, trying to connect the dots between the victims and the stolen items.
And if we look deeper into the victim profiles, we find they aren't just wealthy, but also hold positions of influence in the community. This detail shifts the investigation's focus. Is this about stealing valuables, or is there a deeper motive at play?
Right. It seems like someone is targeting specific individuals for a reason, not just random homes. But then, their investigation takes a dark turn when Ellie receives a threatening note.
The chilling part is that the note was specifically addressed to Ellie, warning her to stop meddling. This personal touch indicates that someone powerful and dangerous is behind these break-ins, someone who's been watching them closely.
That's where things get really interesting. The next target is a conspicuously empty house, almost as if it's a setup. Even with increased police patrols, Ellie and Jake, driven by their determination and maybe a bit of youthful daring, decide to walk right into the potential trap.
This raises a question about their motivation. Were they driven purely by curiosity and a desire for justice? Or was there an element of recklessness, a thrill-seeking aspect to their actions?
That's something to consider as we move forward. Because when they arrive at the house, Ellie's scanner key, which had worked flawlessly until now, malfunctions against the high-tech biometric lock.
This failure of the scanner key is significant. It suggests that the mastermind behind this operation has access to advanced technology, far beyond what Ellie, a resourceful teenager, could create.
You're right. This isn't just some petty thief. We're dealing with someone sophisticated, someone who's always one step ahead. But Ellie never wants to back down, finds another way in. She spots an old-fashioned window lock with a flick of her wrist. She's inside.
And this is where the narrative takes an unexpected turn. Inside the house. It's not the mastermind thief who confronts Ellie, but Jake himself.
No way. He was in on it all along. That's a major plot twist.
And it gets worse. Jake reveals he's been reporting their findings, everything they uncovered, to the mastermind.
He was feeding information, using Ellie's scanner key to case the places they were investigating. That's cold-blooded.
He even shows Ellie her scanner key. Its wires connected to a sleek black phone, a direct line to the puppet master.
Ellie must have felt completely betrayed, used as a pawn in this elaborate scheme, to be deceived by someone she trusted. It's a devastating realization.
The emotional impact of this betrayal can't be overstated. Imagine the confusion and hurt Ellie must have felt. And this betrayal is what fuels her next actions. Remember, she's a teenage girl. And despite her brilliance, she's still vulnerable.
So, what happens next? Does she confront Jake?
She does. But it's not a calm, reasoned conversation. It's a fight for survival. What started as playful fight scenes between friends turns into a brutal attack. Jake lunges at her, and suddenly, the stakes are incredibly high.
It's chilling how quickly things can escalate, how the line between friend and foe can blur in an instant. What happened during the fight? Was Ellie able to defend herself against Jake?
Remember, Jake was physically stronger, but Ellie was fueled by adrenaline and the fury of betrayal. In a desperate move, she manages to grab the scanner key and smash the phone it's connected to.
Cutting off communication with the mastermind, that's smart thinking under pressure.
Yeah.
But was that enough to stop Jake?
Unfortunately, no. Jake overpowers her, pinning her down. Things are looking grim for Ellie.
It sounds like she was trapped, facing her own mortality. This is a real cliffhanger.
It was a moment of truth for Ellie, a fight for her life. And just when things seem hopeless, the most unexpected savior intervenes.
Okay, now you've got me on the edge of my seat. Who saved Ellie?
Remember Mr. Henderson, the seemingly paranoid neighbor whose house was the first they investigated.
Yeah. The one with triple padlocks on every door.
That's him. He appears out of nowhere, a heavy vase in hand, and...
Wait, Mr. Henderson, the victim?
Not exactly a victim. As it turns out, Mr. Henderson was the mastermind behind it all.
Whoa, so the whole paranoid neighbor act was just a facade.
Exactly. And the swiftness and force with which he strikes Jake reveal a side of him far from harmless. It's truly a case of appearances being deceiving.
He was manipulating everyone, including Ellie and Jake. It's amazing how easily we can be fooled by outward appearances.
And that, dear listener, is the danger of underestimating those around us. We often make assumptions based on what we see, but sometimes the most unassuming individuals harbor the darkest secrets.
This is unbelievable. So, what happened next? Was Jake arrested? And what about Mr. Henderson, the puppet master?
We'll delve into the shocking conclusion of this case and explore the lasting impact it had on our young detective, Ellie, when we return for part 2 of our investigation.
Don't go anywhere, folks. The truth is just a moment away. Welcome back to the True Detectives podcast. We left off with a jaw-dropping revelation. Mr. Henderson, the seemingly harmless neighbor, is the criminal mastermind. Talk about a plot twist that throws everything we thought we knew out the window.
It's a classic example of how initial perceptions can be completely wrong. Mr. Henderson, by all outward appearances, was a victim himself. But the truth is far more complex, as we can see in the case files.
And this twist begs the question, how well do we truly know those around us? Mr. Henderson, the man known for his excessive security measures, was actually orchestrating these elaborate heists, all while maintaining this facade of vulnerability.
It speaks volumes about his cunning and his ability to manipulate those around him. But let's not forget about Ellie and Jake. They walked into that house thinking they were one step closer to unmasking the mastermind, only to find themselves face to face with betrayal and danger.
It's a chilling reminder that investigations, even those that start with good intentions, can lead to unexpected and dangerous situations. What happened after Mr. Henderson intervened, stopping Jake from harming Ellie?
The scene quickly shifts from a life-or-death struggle to a chaotic unraveling of the truth. The police arrive, alerted by the commotion, and they're just as stunned as Ellie to find Mr. Henderson at the scene, seemingly coming to her aid.
I bet the officers were initially confused. Here's the supposed victim of the burglaries, saving a teenager from another teenager who, we now know, was actually working with him all along.
Exactly. The investigation takes a dramatic turn. Imagine trying to piece together this puzzle. A teen inventor with a high-tech lock-picking device, a series of seemingly impossible break-ins, a double-crossing accomplice, and the mastermind hiding in plain sight.
It sounds like something straight out of a detective novel. Did Jake try to explain himself? Did he attempt to deny his involvement?
According to the police reports, Jake was initially defiant, but the evidence against him was overwhelming. Ellie's scanner key, now broken and disconnected from the communication device, served as a silent witness to his betrayal.
It's ironic that the invention Ellie created for good, for exploration and fun, ended up being used for such nefarious purposes.
It highlights the dual nature of technology, doesn't it? Even the most innovative creation can be twisted and used in ways we never intended. But in this case, Ellie's scanner key, even in its broken state, becomes instrumental in bringing down the mastermind.
So the pieces of the puzzle start falling into place. Jake is arrested, Mr. Henderson's true nature is revealed, and the elaborate scheme unravels. What about Ellie? What happened to her after all this?
This experience, as you can imagine, was incredibly traumatic for Ellie. She faced betrayal, violence, and the realization that the world can be a much darker place than she initially believed.
She's incredibly resilient, though. To go through all of that and come out on the other side, it speaks volumes about her strength and character. Did this experience deter her from inventing? Did it make her afraid to trust others?
Ellie's story is one of resilience and adaptation. She channels her experience into something positive. Remember how Mr. Henderson intervened, taking down Jake with a well-aimed vase?
Yes, it seemed almost symbolic. A reminder that sometimes the simplest tools can be the most effective.
That incident sparked a new interest in Ellie, self-defense. While she continued pursuing her passion for inventing, she also delved into the world of practical self-defense techniques, exploring ways to combine her technological skills with the ability to protect herself.
That's a fantastic way to turn a negative experience into a source of empowerment. She took control, didn't let fear paralyze her, and learned from the situation. It's an inspiring turn of events.
Absolutely. Ellie's story is a testament to the human spirit's ability to adapt and grow, even in the face of adversity. She didn't let this experience define her. Instead, she used it to fuel her passions and develop new skills.
We often hear about the resilience of detectives and law enforcement officers. But Ellie's story reminds us that ordinary people, even teenagers, can exhibit incredible courage and strength when faced with extraordinary circumstances. But I'm curious, what happened to Mr. Henderson? How did the legal system handle his case?
Mr. Henderson, once the seemingly harmless neighbor, was now exposed as a cunning and manipulative criminal. The authorities built a strong case against him, using the evidence gathered from the various crime scenes, the testimony of Jake, and of course, Ellie's broken scanner key. He was charged with multiple counts of burglary and conspiracy.
Wow. It's fascinating how quickly things can change. One minute he's the concerned neighbor, the next he's facing serious jail time. Did his elaborate charade, the image he so carefully cultivated, play a role in his trial?
Absolutely. The court proceedings were highly publicized, with the media highlighting the shocking twist in the case. Mr. Henderson's carefully constructed persona was shattered, and the public was captivated by the story of the teen inventor who helped bring down a criminal mastermind hiding in plain sight.
It's a reminder that appearances can be deceiving, and that sometimes the people we least suspect are capable of the most elaborate deceptions. But before we delve into the final chapter of this investigation, I think it's important to take a moment to reflect on the broader implications of this case.
You're right. Ellie's story raises some thought-provoking questions about the role of technology in our lives, the importance of critical thinking, and the ever-present need for vigilance, even in our own neighborhoods.
It also underscores the importance of trusting our instincts. Ellie had a gut feeling that something wasn't right about Mr. Henderson, and even though she was initially wrong about the specifics, that instinct ultimately led her to the truth.
Exactly. It's a reminder that intuition and observation can be powerful tools, especially when navigating complex situations. But we'll discuss these themes in more detail when we return for the final part of our investigation, where we'll explore the aftermath of the case, the verdict in Mr. Henderson's trial, and the lasting impact this experience had on Ellie's life.
So stay tuned, listeners. As we delve into the conclusion of this captivating story, the truth is just a moment away. Welcome back to the True Detectives podcast for the final chapter in our investigation of Ellie, the teen inventor, who found herself at the heart of a complex web of deception and crime.
We've seen how Ellie's ingenuity, coupled with a series of unexpected twists, led to the downfall of Mr. Henderson, the unassuming mastermind behind a string of baffling burglaries.
We left off with Mr. Henderson facing multiple charges, his carefully crafted persona shattered, and the public eager to see justice served. What was the outcome of his trial?
The trial was a media sensation, with every detail scrutinized and debated. The prosecution presented a compelling case highlighting the meticulous planning of the burglaries, the use of Ellie's scanner key, and Jake's testimony, which corroborated Ellie's account of the events.
It must have been overwhelming for Ellie, seeing her invention, something she created with such innocent intentions, used as evidence in a high-profile criminal trial. Did she have to testify?
Yes. Ellie played a crucial role in the trial, providing first-hand testimony about her interactions with Mr. Henderson, her discovery of Jake's betrayal, and the events that unfolded in that seemingly empty house. Imagine the pressure of recounting such a traumatic experience in a courtroom with the eyes of the jury and the media fixed upon her.
It's a testament to her courage and resilience that she was able to do so. Her testimony must have been powerful, connecting all the dots and revealing the extent of Mr. Henderson's manipulation.
Her testimony, combined with the other evidence, proved to be decisive. The jury found Mr. Henderson guilty on all charges, and he was sentenced to a significant prison term. Justice was served, but the impact of this experience on Ellie's life was profound.
We've talked about her resilience and her decision to pursue self-defense training. But how else did this experience shape her? Did it change her outlook on life, her trust in others?
Ellie's story is a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there can be growth and positive transformation. She could have easily retreated into herself, become jaded and cynical, but instead she chose to use her experience as a catalyst for personal growth.
It's inspiring to see how she channeled her trauma into something constructive, not only learning to protect herself physically, but also continuing to pursue her passion for inventing. Did she create any new gadgets, perhaps, with a focus on security or safety?
Ellie's story highlights a theme that runs through many of our investigations: the unexpected consequences of innovation. While her scanner key was ultimately used for criminal purposes, her story doesn't end there. It evolves, taking on new layers of meaning as Ellie herself grows and adapts. She continued to invent, but her focus shifted. She began exploring the intersection of technology and personal safety, developing devices that empowered individuals to protect themselves and their communities.
It's a powerful reminder that technology is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or for ill. It's up to us, the inventors, the users, and the citizens, to guide its development and ensure that it serves humanity's best interests.
Ellie's story is not just a tale of crime and detection, but a testament to the human spirit's ability to overcome adversity, to learn from experience, and to use innovation as a force for good.
It's a story that encourages us to think critically about the world around us, to question assumptions, and to never underestimate the power of a determined mind, even a young one, to make a difference. As we conclude this investigation, let's take a moment to reflect on the lessons we can learn from Ellie's experience.
What strikes me is the importance of observation, of paying attention to the details that often go unnoticed. Ellie's keen eye for detail, her ability to spot inconsistencies and anomalies, played a crucial role in unraveling the truth.
It's also a reminder that we should never underestimate the power of curiosity. Ellie's initial curiosity about how things work, her desire to explore and understand, led her down a path that, while fraught with danger, ultimately resulted in justice being served.
And finally, I think it's important to highlight the importance of community. Ellie wasn't alone in her journey. She had friends, family, and even unexpected allies who supported her along the way.
You're right. In the end, it was the collective effort of many individuals, each playing their part, that brought down the mastermind and restored a sense of justice. Ellie's story is a reminder that we're all interconnected, and that even seemingly small actions can have a ripple effect, creating positive change in our communities and beyond.
So, dear listeners, as you go about your day, remember the lessons we've uncovered in this investigation. Be observant, stay curious, and never be afraid to challenge the status quo. And if you ever find yourself facing a seemingly insurmountable obstacle, remember Ellie, the teen inventor who, armed with her ingenuity and resilience, helped bring a criminal mastermind to justice.
That's it for today's episode of the True Detectives podcast. Thank you for joining us on this wild ride into the world of fact versus mystery. We'll be back tomorrow with another captivating True Detective story. Until then, stay curious, stay vigilant, and keep those detective hats on.